Hey guys, so this is going to be an attempt to use ChatGPT to help with this simple task of we got a web page, and I'd like to put a page counter on it to count the number of times somebody visits the page, but also I'd like to be able to count just unique visits. So if somebody visits from the same machine twice, I only want that to show once. So we're going to try to do first one after the other. This is usually it's a standard thing if you're doing this in the environment I'm using, which is on the client. I'm doing JavaScript, and on the server it's PHP and SQL. It'd really just be so for the first solution to the first part of the problem is just to have a single row in a SQL table with a field um, that would just keep track of the number of times somebody visits the page, and you write the PHP code to just update that field. The thing about it is it's very simple conceptually, but with these kinds of things, often you run into all these syntax issues that can eat up a lot of time. So I'm hoping that ChatGPT, which seems to almost never make a syntax mistake, will be able to help us with that. So let me first show you the screen that I am going to I'm going to want to use. Let me bring it up here. Okay. There it is. So hopefully you can see that. So that's the screen. Um, this is just an intro for this little game that I developed, just a territorial-based web app, if you will. And I just want to see if I can keep track of how many people are visiting the page. So let's see. So to put the code in, to do that, let's first go to ChatGPT and you have to keep swapping back and forth between screens you're sharing and screens you're not. So you'll have to bear with me. So ChatGPT. So this is it's OpenAI. So of course, it's a Google product, and what I do here. So I just key that in through Google. Go to OpenAI, and then there's have to go through a couple of screens here. You make sure that's being so you see that. That's the and then just click on Try ChatGPT. And you just put your question in there. And it's amazing how often it really understands. Now, this is just the free version. I'm not paying, haven't yet just been able to justify paying for the latest version, which is version 4. So it's either 3 or 3.5. So what I'm going to do is I'll type this in. And I'd already, I had done this before. That's what I'm typing in. So can you write the PHP SQL code to create a web page counter? That's all I'm telling it is basically the environment. Now I'd asked it this before. Hopefully that won't throw it off. But click on enter. There it is. Then make sure you can see it once it stops generating. It's still generating. All right, it's done generating. Yeah, it looks like you're still able to see it. All right. So there it is, and that's the code. A lot of this is, some of this is just preliminary things like signing onto the server, which we won't have to do. And we don't really need any HTML because I already have that, but then it gives you a little explanation. In order to, you have to hook this up with a database table called page counter with a single column called counter, which is going to store the number of page views. So it's just going to increment that counter value by 1 every time somebody visits the page. So you have to set that up, and it's funny how each time you do this, its answer is a little bit different, but at least the explanation is. So what I need is this stuff I already have signing in. What I need is right there, starting with function to increment the page counter, function to retrieve the page counter value, increment the page counter, and then to print out the page views. So I'm going to copy everything from here down. It's actually amusing because the previous time I had done this, it was a slightly different implementation, really. So let's see, hold on. Let me. So I'll copy and paste this into my code. Let's see. There's the actual HTML, and I'm going to put it right in here because I already have something set up here for PHP, and got to share it. So now you can see it. So PHP, as long as you end the file in the suffix of PHP, you can put HTML in there, and it'll just, the browser will display it. It'll ignore these PHP tags, but the PHP, what begins with that less than and the question mark and ends with the question mark and the greater than, anything in there is ignored by the browser, but the server will see it and will execute that before it sends it off to the browser. So it's like something to have the server do before it actually serves up the HTML to the client. So just by way of explanation, so there it is. So that's what I copied. Now, do I need everything? Let's make sure. Okay. This is just, all right, now I need, so it's going to close it. So this counter, it's updating it. Oh, there's checking for an error if it didn't update it correctly. Then it's going to do a select, just that single field. Presumably it's just one row. So okay, it's doing it as a function. Oh, that's amusing. So this is just a function that'll get it. It's taking in this connection to the database, and then it's just going to return row with counter. That's just the row. That's just the record that it retrieved from the SQL table. So it's kind of slick. It's slicker than the last time it did. It's almost like it learned because this is a little bit more functional. So, and then yeah, all right. Okay, then let's do an increment page counter. And then it's saying get page counter. All right, I get you. So it's page counter is what you want to do. Now, the thing is, I don't want the page views to appear here. I want them to appear down at the end of the page. So I'm going to take this page counter, and apparently it will retain this field, like the scope of these PHP fields appear to be the entire page. So what I'm going to do is down here, where I'm going to have my little message. This page has been visited so many times. I'm going to have, so I'll have exactly a little PHP segment there, and it'll begin with this, and it'll end with question mark greater than. So that way, once again, the browser and the server will know that's PHP code. And question mark, greater than. And in between, I'm going to have an echo. And that's a PHP command. That's not JavaScript or anything like that. Page counter. And a semicolon, because PHP statements have to end in a semicolon, and that would really throw it off. Now, this I had accidentally copied from ChatGPT's explanation. I don't want that in here, so I'm going to delete that. And I don't need that extra ending of the PHP. That should be at, I no longer need this. This is kind of a nice solution, and it teaches a little bit about PHP functions, which I never really used those that much. So that's the thing. Now I need to create a table and a row, and then we should be able to implement this. So let me go to my PHP myadmin in this is a HostGator account. It's just the lowest level of hosting available, but it's good enough for my purposes. And I'm going to share this. So now you should be able to see it. And those are just some tables I have on the. Let's just make sure you're able to see it. Yes, you are. Those are just some tables I've got in the database that I've been using for this game. And I'm going to create a new one. And so I'll click new. And what did it say? I needed to call it page counter. And I'm going to add a column right here, and I'm going to call that counter. Integer, and I don't know, length of 20 should be good enough. Let's see if it added that column. Page counter. So it's got the field, but it doesn't have a row, and that's the thing. You gotta, so we definitely need an actual physical row. So we have something to update. So we're going to, let's counter. We're going to just give it a value of 0. And that's the SQL code that it called. And so it says one row. We look at it, we can see that there's actually a value there. So now it should be good to go. And now if we go back to the actual web page and we hit refresh, let's see if it does its thing. There we go. This page has been visited one time. If I refresh it again, twice, refresh it again 3 times, and you can go back to your SQL table. And if you refresh that, you'll be able to see that counter should be whatever number it was. I guess it was 3. There you go. And that's it. And that actually did take me out. That was a lot easier, really, than just writing all the code myself. And I was able to look it over and make sure it was kind of doing what I wanted it to do. But this is definitely going to be doing a lot of coding. People are going to be using this for coding. Very interesting. I'll stop sharing that, and then I'll stop the video. And hopefully it all worked out. I'm a little bit new to this, so I'll play it back and see. But thanks for watching. And if I get time, I'll do the part 2, which would be the even more interesting, catching unique visitors, which usually works by keeping a table of IP addresses. I mean, that's how one way to do it. It's not perfect, but that way then you just look up the person's IP address. And if the IP address is already there, you don't update the counter. And if it isn't there, you add the new IP address and you update the counter. So that'd be the logic that I'd be hoping this ChatGPT to do. That's what I'd be looking for. It's not perfect because people who have ISPs, quite often the IP addresses are dynamically assigned, but it's better than nothing. All right, thanks, and see you later.